So I'm gonna try to show you guys how to put on a set of factory roof rails on my 2016 Mazda CX-3. I'm gonna first have to take that trim out. Heads up, this particular part cost about $238 with tax and shipping, and I will put this information in the description for the video in case you need to look it up, but it's pretty easy to find online. They came, and I was a little disappointed about this curling up like this, but I think it'll be okay once I get it installed. Came with instructions, so we'll see how good they are. Heads up, instructions say that you need a T30 socket, and you're also going to have to torque bolts to, I think it was 8 Newton meters, which I calculated to be about 6 foot-pounds. There are packets, and these I believe are called spacers, and this goes underneath to protect the paint. It's like a film, and so there should be 4 of those spacers, 4 of the films, and there should also be 4 plugs that go in the top when you're done. And so I'm gonna try to video this myself. I'll piecemeal it together so you don't have to watch all the boring stuff. But first thing that you need is a screwdriver that is heavily wrapped in tape so you don't damage your paint. And I believe we're going to basically come right under here and pry up. And once we get that piece off, we should be able to rotate and snap the rest of the channel out. So first thing is you want to make sure your screwdriver actually isn't all floppy at the end with tape, but this actually was fairly easy. No force at all. You just got to get in between this windshield molding and the actual piece here. So next, we're going to move down, not use the screwdriver, but slide the stool down and just kind of pull up on this and pop it out one piece at a time. Try not to break it. Also, let's see if you can see in there. That's how it's attached. And I think you're supposed to just rock it back and forth. I'll stop and I'll show you once it's off. You can see, well, maybe not. It's pretty dirty in there. You just kind of rock it back and forth. You don't really pull straight up. But I'm actually going to stop, and I'm going to do a really good cleaning job on this channel. It has bugs and dirt, and I don't want to put my seal down over a bunch of junk. So I'm going to do that first, and then we'll go from there. So that didn't take a lot of force. You can see the clips here. I think basically I just rocked it back and forth this way. So just like kind of back and forth until it pops both ways. It's extremely dirty. So I'm going to actually pause and clean that channel out because you don't really want to put your seal on a bunch of dirt. You can see all the junk that popped out. I'm going to take these off and I'm going to save them because who knows, you might want to put them back on for some reason. So I'm a little anal when it comes to some things and probably don't need to do this, but I figure I'm not going to be in here looking at these channels again, maybe ever, I don't know. But I'm actually taking a Q-tip and getting the places where the soapy rag and water didn't quite get. So it's going to be about as clean as it can get before I get finished. In just a minute, I'll show you the difference when you start and now. I'm also going to get some compressed air like you use with computer keyboards and just blow out some of the stuff that is caught underneath those little bracket things right here. Brackets? I don't know. Anyway, in the front, right here, that stuff is collected down in there, see? So I'm going to clean that out real good as well because I've had a car leak in that exact location. So I want to make sure I do a good job. And then once I get the Q-tip and the compressed air. I'm going to wipe it down with a clean, non-soapy rag, and I'm going to let it air dry for a bit before I come back in and put anything in. And so you can see that is this one, and then the one that hasn't been cleaned yet looks like that. So it's pretty nasty. And this is a 2016, so you know, it's been on the road for a little while. All right, here we go. So I'm not sure how many compressed air newbies I have, but this is just called electronics duster. I'm not really sure. I don't think it'll hurt anything, but I'm just kind of aiming, and you have to do really short bursts, otherwise the can gets super cold. So I organize these things. They do need to go on a certain side. The RF and the RR need to go on the right side or the passenger side, and the front left and right left, or FL, RL, need to go on the driver's side with the arrows pointed forward. These things are basically adhesive, and you peel off the backing right here, and they go on this bolt hole right here, and they're supposed to be adhered to the black part, the bracket, and also the paint. So you're going to make sure it's dry before you put these on, and maybe even a little bit of rubbing alcohol underneath to make sure it sticks. They're kind of hard to get down in there. Alright, so I did notice that there was debris in the screw holes, so you do probably need to shoot a little compressed air into each one of those little mounting screw holes. I've got the piece on the car on a towel. Notice that it should be oriented so that this is a shorter distance than this. So that goes to the back. The longer distance between these holes and the back go to the back of the car. Okay? So the next step is to put this on top and get the rubber situated, which should be, from what I understand, the hardest part. So these screw holes here are for the cross rails, and so those should be on the inside of the car, not the outside. All right, so I'm having some problems with the little screws. I've already fished them out of the roof rail hole, which is that square hole, several times. So now I'm gonna just do a little trick with the magnet, and I'm gonna stick the screw on the end of the magnet, stick it in the hole like this, and then just basically break off the magnet. Grab hold of the screw. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so it's a little harder, but if I grab the end of the screw and pull the magnet off, now my screw is in the hole and I don't lose it. Now I'm going to try to put this whole piece down on these brackets and hope that I can get it lined up. It seems to sit on top, which is weird, but we'll see. The biggest deal is the seal, making sure the black rubber seal is underneath this piece. This really doesn't seem to fit all that well, but I do believe it's the right part. So you just have to make sure this gets pulled out, and then it has to be tucked underneath the front windshield seal. It's kind of not really the best because it's basically bent over. We'll work with this and see if we can get in here. It might help on this to have an extra set of hands if you've got them, but I don't, so I'm just gonna make do. So I'm feeling this is just not fitting as well as it should, but I'm gonna go for it and see what happens. You've got to make sure that rubber is out from underneath so you can see it, and they suggest using a plastic tool. Now you feel right here, there's space under here, so, and then on this side it's not. So I feel like this is going to tilt to the inside of the car if I put it on like this. This piece has to be tucked under the windshield trim, and then you just have to check and make sure Okay, I'm not real happy with the fit of these. When you start hand tightening, these things seat weird. Maybe if I do the back one first and then go up into the front one, it might work. I wasn't even sure if I had them right because I went ahead and put the other one on the other side to make sure. But it just seems like it wants to angle in and tilt in towards the car. So this is going to take a lot of little fine tuning here. But I'm going to go ahead and hand tighten these with the, this is the Torque T30. And then once I hand tighten both sides, I'll go back and torque it. And that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna lie, I am not really totally happy with the fit and finish of these. I feel like they're not manufactured, even though they came straight from a Mazda dealership. And I feel like this gasket is gonna end up needing replacing before long, so I think I'll probably go ahead and order an extra. I mean, they look pretty good, but I've only hand tightened them thus far. It looks like I got the seal fairly even, but I'm not really sure if I'm not going to just cut that seal off at the front once I tighten those down to the required torque. Anyway, that one's done except for the torquing and the clips. Gonna go to the other side and do that one. Once you've got it sort of seated, there's actually space here until you start tightening it down, and that's where you have to be careful because it wants to tilt in. And you gotta kind of make sure that looks a little dirty. I'm probably gonna compressed air that out a little bit before I tighten this one down. But you do have to tuck this before you tighten, otherwise it won't really go underneath the windshield seal. And that one looks even worse. It just doesn't even look like it fits. It looks really short. But the seals came on there, so maybe it's just bent over a little too much. Looks like there's going to be a gap or something. This is a very strange fit. And you do need this nylon tool. It really helps to get the rubber where it's supposed to be. And so I'm going to work on this one now. And basically, you just take it and pull it out while you're tightening down. It's really just double check and make sure these brackets are seated into that gasket in there, because that could be make it sit funny, I'm guessing. So there's a lot of little things to kind of look at. You can kind of see that one's off a little bit. Using the T30 to tighten these down and tighten a little bit, and then just kind of check here. See how this one's already gone off because it just wants to tilt in instead of go where it's supposed to go. So just kind of weird how this is not sitting right on here. It's like it just doesn't fit. Not happy with this Mazda OEM part. If you can find something that has a better fit, you'd think. And I double checked, and it's definitely a CX-3 roof rail. So maybe they just make it for one of the cars and then they try to retrofit it on the others or something. Maybe that's it. Anyway, not super good fit. If you look at it, it's kind of curved, and it's to get it tighter, it does seem to level out a little bit, so it's not quite as bad as when you first start. Still looks tilted to me, but at least the seal is around it. It's just a little easier once you get it down to where it's mostly hand tightened. So I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing. It's easier to seat these seals. Now I have backed the screws off and come back and backed and tightened a little bit in order to get as much of the seal on either side of the roof rail as possible. I think it does get easier once you get a little farther along tightening. The tighter you get, the less it shifts. So that first little bit, let go here so I can make sure I don't strip the screw, because I think I'm getting close. Terrible torque wrench to use because every little mark is 5 pounds and I need, or 5 foot-pounds, and I need 6. So I'm looking for that white mark to move one black mark on the foot-pound scale. And it's really hard to tell, so this is not going to be totally accurate, but I feel like when I tug on it, it moves maybe even more than I should have torqued it. So I'm just going to leave it where it's at and not go any farther. Alright, so last step is just to basically take these little clips right here and pop them in. They're not supposed to stick up more than a millimeter, so if they stick up, you might have to tap them with a mallet. I'm not going to probably do that because you just kind of, if you squeeze on the side of them a little bit, they pop right in. And I think they're okay like that. So I'm just going to basically put them in. I don't know, I might tap them, but I doubt it. I think I'm just going to leave them like that. And they're just to cover the hole anyway. I imagine that's not watertight, but that's it. We're pretty much done. And that is how you install the roof rails. And you want to go around probably and check and just make sure you've got a good seal between your car and your rubber black seal on the roof rail. And make sure that's tucked in. And I would say if you did a good job cleaning your prep work, probably made this step kind of not totally necessary, but just kind of make sure. I already see cracks in this rubber, so I guess this was old stock. I'm really not sure, but there you go. Not totally happy again with the fit, but we'll see. Most I'll ever have on this is probably a kayak, so I'm not super worried about the torque of the bolts. That's that.